All right, here's an intro video, excuse me, for track 24 at the tracks at White River, 10-acre property. This is easily one of our favorite tracks out here. It's extremely private. It's got a nice amount of usable land. It's got an easement road that ends right on it, which makes it even more private. And it's actually got a small creek bed on the south side that, like anything, we're going to call a wet weather creek bed, but it was one of the few creek beds that actually had uh, water in it the couple times we were out there. So I think we have either a video or a picture of that on the listing page for the property. So track 24 is the furthest to the east. You can see it over here. Here's the White River over here. So the White River is about 1.25 miles from the property. We won't do the trip here from Batesville because we have a different video that covers that. That's on the main page for the tracks at White River. But we'll do this from Lock 3 Road to the property. So this green road, Lock 3 Road, that's the county road. Even though it's a county road, it's really not maintained much at all. It's a minimum maintenance road, and especially by the time you get out close to the river here and to the properties, the county basically um, does very little to the road because there is essentially no one out here at this time. It's just been recreational land, and they haven't added it to their maintenance schedule. So that certainly could change if one or more people either build a little cabin or have some kind of hunting camp and get a hold of the county. Then I imagine at some point they would look at that and say, oh, well, let's start to maintain that. But even if that does happen, you still absolutely want a four-wheel drive truck or SUV out here because it will still be a low maintenance county road, and you still have the gravel easement road system. That's the purple roads here. So you're going to want a four-wheel drive either way. So you'll be taking Lock 3 Road in. It's called Lock 3 Road because it's the access to what you see here in the river. That's a hydroelectric dam, and that's called Dam 3 or Lock 3. So it's got the dam, and then the lock is what's over here on the east side, and that's what is the kind of the apparatus that allows boats to go up and down river without jumping the dam, I guess. And you've probably seen them if you've ever seen pictures of a canal like the Panama Canal or whatnot. It's a series of locks, and it's just two big sets of doors, one on either side. The boat pulls in, they shut the doors, and then if the boat is going upstream, they let the water in from upriver, and it floats the boat up, and then they release it, and off it goes. If it's going downriver, then the water would start at a high level. They would shut the doors and then lower the water down, and off it goes downriver. So that's Lock 3, which is why that's called Lock 3 Road. There's a little spur road here that goes off of Lock 3 Road and then up to the actual Lock 3. But to get to the property, to get to track 24, so you'd take Lock 3 Road. If you were to a good wow, it must be late. I can't think of the word. A good landmark is that when you're on Lock 3 Road and you get to this small cleared area, you'll kind of feel like you emerged from the woods, and all of a sudden to your left and to your right, there's kind of a meadow. What that is actually the power line for the hydroelectric. And so that's when the hydroelectric is producing power, that's what they use to get the power to Batesville. But we use it as a landmark because once you're there, you know that as soon as you cross through that, if you go right, you go to the concrete ramp that goes into the White River. But if you go straight, the road will curve to the left. You'll go up a little hill, and then once you get to the top, if you look to the north side of the road, to the left side of the road, you'll see the gate that is the start of the easement road. There's a gate on the opposite side as well of this road, so that could be confusing, but it's going to be, that gate goes down here, it goes nowhere. You want the gate that will be on your left as you're coming up or on the north or northeast side of the road, same difference. It's basically like a large, I don't know if it's a pipe gate, but it's a large commercial type heavy duty gate. It's likely to be locked, but get a hold of us and we'll let you know how to unlock that and how to get in and check out the properties. So once you open the gate, go on through, and you'll take the easement road. You'll go up a fairly long but really not too steep hill. You'll cross tracks 9, 10, 13. There's a Y in the road, but you'll be able to see that all the traffic stays to the right. There's very little traffic, but still the traffic that is out there would stay to the right because that spur is not used much. So just kind of follow what looks like the traffic pattern. Cruise on down here. You'll come to another Y in the road at track 17. You're going to want to veer left there. And by that time, you're getting pretty close to the property. One final Y in the road, but that's an easy one. Just don't go south. Just keep going straight. And you'll be at track 24. Once you get there, I mean, you'll probably know you're there because once you get to the east side where the turnaround is, you'll be able to see the neighbor's field. It's a beautiful field. You'll see it in the drone video as well. It's really pretty striking, especially from the air. Here you can see it. But yeah, it's just a neat field. But that's another good landmark to know that you're there. Track 24 is basically all wooded other than obviously the road and then potentially some natural cleared areas. You're going to have mostly hardwood trees, red oak, white oak, etc. We saw sycamores. You'll certainly probably have chestnut trees, maybe some black walnut trees. The guys have seen pecan trees out here. Just a little bit of everything. It's really pretty cool. And why don't we switch to a topo map to kind of show you how this sits here. Okay, if you're familiar with topos, this might make some sense. If not, it's probably confusing. To start off with, you see this dashed line, which actually continues after the property. So this is called, I guess, the vintage topo map. They renamed it that a couple years ago rather than just the topo map. But these were produced by the USDA, I believe, in about the 1950s. And at that time, they were trying to label, the basic road systems on the topo map. So even though all these roads were in place back then, it's not a situation where they were trying to label every single little road and trail. They just wanted to kind of label the main ones. And so that's what that dashed line is that was what they saw as kind of one of the more main trails at the time these maps were made. Keep in mind that it doesn't actually continue onto the neighbor's property. So there's no easement for anybody from the east to come on to these tracks. And in fact, I bet if we go to like the aerial map, you'll see that there's no road there. There was 100 years ago, but there's not now. Go back to the topo. There we go. Okay, so what we've got here is where you come in on the easement road. That's going to be essentially the highest part of the property. You've got a little bit of land to the north of the easement road, not much, maybe half an acre. It does look to be fairly level. You're going to have setback distances off the road. Check the listing page to see what those are. Offhand, I don't recall if it's 50 feet or 100 feet, but you've got to get a certain distance off the center line of the road, kind of as a privacy buffer for everybody out there before you can park or camp or build or whatnot. Going south, so it's interesting. If say you're in the middle of the road and you go due south, it drops fairly quickly, and you've got this little valley that then kind of curves and terminates toward the southern end of the property where the creek bed is. But if you go to the east side of the property, we actually discovered a pretty usable road or trail that goes due south along the east side of the property. We didn't follow it too far, but it went at least several hundred feet back in. And if you look at this topo map, you've got some nice usable area here. And then you've actually got kind of a natural ridge that leads down toward the creek bed itself. So it could be that that's where that road goes. We're really not positive about that because we didn't have the time to check it out in great detail. Now on the south part of the property, here's the little what we're going to call a seasonal creek bed, and as we mentioned earlier, it is one of the few creeks out here that actually did have water in it. The couple times that we were out there, so we're still going to call it a seasonal creek bed, just because it's very likely that's what it is. And we actually did not start at the easement road and go south to get there. We were actually, I believe, down here taking some videos on track 34, and one of the guys kind of took the creek bed and walked northerly, and he had his map right, or land ID app on his phone, and at some point said, hey, there's live water here, and I'm actually on track 24. So he said he snapped a couple photos, and we'll try to get those in the listing page if they're not already there. But that's just pretty neat to see that you might have some live water, even if it's only seasonal. It's pretty cool that it was running the couple times we were out there when most or all of these other little creek beds were not. So track 24 is pretty darn unique. I think someone's really going to enjoy this property. The fact that it has this trail that goes southerly and gets you several hundred feet off the road but still leads into a level area, that's awesome, because that gives you basically almost an immediate place that you could maybe pull your camper in if you wanted to spend a few weeks. Definitely check it out first before you pull your valuable camper back there to make sure there's no trees down or whatnot. But from what we saw of the road, it looked like it was a pretty good road that would still be usable even if you had to clear out some brush or whatnot. Check out the creek bed. This valley right here that we talked about that kind of zips down and meets up with the creek bed. There might be some springs coming out of there. There might be some springs coming out of the hillside. This area of the Ozarks does certainly have caves, and this topography is right for a cave. So again, we have not explored the property, but we've always heard that the majority of caves have still not been discovered. So it's really fun to kind of root around your property and check out the little nooks and crannies. And we have found caves. We have not found any showcase caves at this point, but we've found many small caves and a pretty good number of caves that are interesting, like stalactite, stalagmite type caves. So that's pretty neat. I mean, that's a really cool feeling to actually discover a cave that no one's ever seen before. So again, not saying there's one out here by any means, but this is the type of ground where we would definitely go in. If we were searching for caves, it would be on a property like this, on the hillsides like this down by the creek for sure. That would be our starting point. So enough said about that. But yeah, beautiful property. Go back to the aerial map. Heavily wooded, very private, enormous amount of wildlife in the area as far as deer and wild turkey. And obviously being just a little over a mile from the White River is stupendous. You've got fantastic fishing, floating, all that good stuff. We haven't gone swimming in there yet. None of the guys have, but it looks quite clear every time we've been out there. So I would sure think it'd be nice for swimming. And we've been told you can actually catch trout in this section of the White River, which is pretty awesome as well. So that's in addition to bass and catfish and all the quote unquote normal species. To be able to catch trout in here is pretty darn fantastic. So we'll have to check into that a little more, but we've heard it from several people, so I'm starting to believe it. But yeah, that's track 24. Someone's going to love this property. If you have any questions, just let us know.